Good afternoon. This is Chuck Morse, host of Left Right Radio. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about a book I wrote probably about 2 years ago. It's now available and has been available at Amazon, The War Against Judaism. And I am once again presenting the book, mainly in reaction to my previous interview a couple of weeks back with white supremacist Richard Spencer. That interview is available, of course, on this channel. And the ugly anti-Semitic reaction in the aftermath of that interview. Now, I had Spencer on the program mainly to talk about his white supremacy and why I felt it's evil and damaging to this country, and that combined with the radical black supremacy of somebody like Louis Farrakhan, that could lead to a race war. And I'm concerned about that for the future of this country. But in the course of the interview, I happened to mention in passing that I'm Jewish. And that was not the subject of the interview, but that it just came up in the course of conversation. And the result was that Spencer began to present some, maybe I would call anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, but more interestingly, the reaction on the part of his followers to me after who were listening or who listened on YouTube was so vile and so ugly and so personal, and also so in many cases quite detailed in its elaboration on these intricate Jewish conspiracy theories going all the way back to the crucifixion of Jesus and right up till today. And some of these conspiracy theories have been floating around there forever. The only one I'm going to comment on here, because it's so ironic, is, and this one's been out there, is this what I would call a classic case of Freudian projection, in that many of the people who responded were accusing Judaism of being hyper-racist, that it was hyper-ethnic. You had to be a part of an ethnic tribe in order to be a Jew, which of course is false, because anyone can be a Jew. Judaism is not a proselytizing faith, and it's not easy to become a Jew unless, I suppose, you do it through the Reform movement, which is easy. But in terms of like genuine, authentic Judaism, it is a difficult and long process, but people do it. People do it all the time. There are many prominent people today who converted to Judaism, including one of the primary rabbis at the Kotel, the Wall in Jerusalem, who was a Lutheran minister who became a Jew. I'd also mention President Donald Trump's daughter, Ivanka Trump, converted to Judaism in the right way. I mean, through an authentic process. So, it can be done and is done. But the projection is that they were angry and just furious at Judaism for being what they are, which is ethnocentric and race-centric, and calling for the existence of a supremacist white state and this kind of stuff. And by the way, I should point out that Israel is racially and ethnically, I would argue, one of the most diverse societies in history. The common denominator there, of course, is religion, which is that it's a Jewish state, and language, secondly, in that they speak a national language, that is Hebrew. But beyond that, questions of ethnicity and race, those are accidents of birth. I mean, there's no Jewish race. I mean, there's no, there's, in a broad sense, there's a Jewish ethnicity, but that has more to do with, an accident than it has to do with any deliberate, race or ethnic agenda. But because of the ugliness and the vituperativeness and the intensity of these reactions and how personal it was, I mean, people insulting me for what I look like and that sort of thing, I feel compelled to once again promote one of my books, which is, again, The War Against Judaism, God, Christianity, and America. And in this book, I research the background of modern anti-Semitism. going back to the French Revolution and the development within Jewish ranks of a conspiracy of a false Messiah, Shabtai Zvi, and how that began the corruption of Judaism itself. And I point out that in many ways, the problem for Jews and for Judaism as a whole is a spiritual one that exists within, that we need to ask ourselves who we are and look at corrupting influences that have worked their way into our faith and our belief system, and begin to identify those things with an eye toward exposing them and separating them out from what generally is authentic Judaism, which is a belief in the Lord God, King of the universe, and a belief that God gave the moral and ethical code to all of mankind through the Torah, and that the Jews were there as sort of a priestly sect to serve God and to add an extra layer of observance as an example, as a light unto the nations, as an example for how to elevate oneself spiritually and live a better life. And that all of this, along with God's command, which is mystical and which is there, and that is to possess that tiny little swath of land between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea as a place of governance and as a place of sovereignty. All of this would result in, ultimately, God willing, the coming of the Moshiach, the Messiah. So my book is available at Amazon.com, The War Against Judaism. I intend to go out and do interviews and talk with people and try to debunk some of these really dangerous conspiracy theories that have been wrought against Judaism. And my argument in the book, and this is reflected in the subtitle, God, Christianity, and America, is that the attack on Judaism, as launched by the darker elements of the Enlightenment in Europe, particularly writings by Karl Marx, his infamous pamphlet on the Jewish question, which eventually was republished as A World Without Judaism. That is an attack on Christianity, on America, on freedom, and on nature. And again, I get into the more detailed aspects of that by republishing aspects of that book in my book and showing that this is an agenda against freedom, that Judaism, in philosophically and theologically, frankly, is a belief system that promotes and fosters individual freedom and prosperity and success through doing good works and doing good deeds and toward self-sovereignty and self-actualization. So anyway, I want to thank you for watching. Check out the book. It's on Amazon, The War Against Judaism, God, Christianity, and America, as are my other books. And thanks for joining me this afternoon.